Good day, all my viewers all over the world. This is your regular host, Valentine. The topic we'll be looking at today is Introduction to Algebra. Our lesson aim will be understand how to solve problems involving algebra. Then our lesson objective will be by the end of the session, learners will be able to work out solutions of algebra problems. As usual, this is our target, and it's expected that all learners will pass both their mock and formal assessments by the end of the academic session. How? Learners should take responsibility for their learning. Class attendance should be taken seriously. Questions should be asked if in doubt. Revision of class work and personal studies should be taken seriously before the end of each day. All these are steps which will enhance learning and enhance the high chance of making any learner or any of my viewer pass their assessment or any formal exams they will be taking, all things being equal. Let's move on to the next slide. Because of time and because of the capacity of the video that is required to be recorded, I'll skip the slide. Now, this will be a mini starter. It is expected that this will refresh the minds of our learners. So, for the sake of time, we'll quickly look at this starter. I'll try to have a go with those three questions, and it is expected that my learners to have a go with the remaining ones. As I said, this is a starter questions. This is just to help remind ourselves on how to solve questions on algebraic manipulation. Remember, we can always liken those algebraic questions to our everyday life. I could remember one of the comments someone or one of my learners once asked me, "Sir, when do we use this in our everyday life?" I smiled, then I told the learner that we use algebra consciously or unconsciously. Take, for instance, if you go to a shop wanting to buy combinations of fruits, let's say apples and banana. So you can liken the apples to alphabets. Maybe for instance, you bought two apples, so that you can take that as two apples will be 2A plus, let's say, three bananas. So for the fact that these are different species of fruits, you cannot add these two together. You cannot add these two numbers together. Remember, you bought two apples plus three bananas. For the fact that they are different fruits, you cannot add them together, but you can always take this home. But for instance, maybe you bought three apples, three apples. This should be A plus, then maybe mom or dad gets another, let's say, four apples for you. You can see you can easily add this together because the fruits are the same. So three apples plus four apples will definitely give you seven apples. This is practical. This is normal. You can always do this and it makes sense. But this, for the fact that these two fruits are different, two apples plus three bananas. You cannot add them both. All you just need to do is to just take them home. But this, you have three apples. You went to the shop and buy three apples, plus mom buys another four apples and give them to you. So in total, you'll be having seven apples. So what I'm just trying to say is, in maths, you can always relate it to our everyday life. So let's quickly look at this. First thing first, once you have questions like this, you have to collect your like terms. So you can see this is 4a and this is 2a. Remember, once you are solving algebraic questions, please take note of the signs in front of it. It's not enough considering the combination of numbers and alphabets alone. No, you have to be conscious of the signs in front of them. So in this case, in maths generally, there's always an invisible positive sign here, but we don't write them. But you only write them if it is a negative sign. So in this case, this is 4a minus 2a. That will be 2a. Then 3 plus 2, that will be plus 5. Because there's nothing common with this, you have to stop there. Then we look at this again. So 3 times 3, that will be 9. Then y times y, that will be y squared. This is fine. Then we look at this. So this will be g times g. That will give us g squared plus g. You either stop here because the question says simplify. You either stop here or you can go a little step further. It doesn't matter. The answers, if you are in assessment, you get the answers correctly. So as mentioned earlier, because of time, I will stop at this third questions and encourage my viewers or learners to have a go at these other ones. So once you've tried this, you can now make reference to the answer slide on the next slide. You can now make reference to the answers on the next slide. So let's see what the answers shows us. So you can see this is correct. This is correct based on what we did, the solution we had at the previous slide. So I will encourage my learners or my viewers to take this as a guide. Yes, before I move on, disclaimer, there are so many resources I use to compile this revision guide or revision notes. So I will encourage my learners to please have a go at this, at to have a go, then come back to the answer slide to check their outcome. So we'll move on. Yeah, this is algebra for the sake of time and space. So this is just to let us know the combination of what algebra looks like. As mentioned earlier, a term is a collection of numbers, letters, and brackets all multiplied or divided together. So what they are trying to tell us is each of these is known as the term. As mentioned earlier, you need to take cognizance of the signs in front of them. You don't, you need to take cognizance of the signs in front of the alphabets. You don't just consider the terms alone. Please take notes of the signs in front of the terms. Just like this is positive, this is negative, this is another positive, this is another positive. Please take notes of the signs in front of them. That will make things a lot easier for you when solving. If you don't do that, there's a high possibility or high chance that you make unavoidable mistakes, thereby reducing your chances of getting the desired scores or outcomes. This is another way collecting lifetimes, like I mentioned earlier. So if, for instance, you have all these, remember you can always liken this to the illustration I gave earlier to your fruits, You can see because so let's take, is there any fruit starting with Q? So let's take this as a fruit, a common fruit. Okay, let's say you bought one, for instance, maybe kiwi. You bought one kiwi, mom buys another kiwi for you, your friend buys another kiwi, dad buys kiwi, and your friend bought another kiwi. You can see for the fact that they are all the same type of fruit, you can all add them together. So once you add all these fruits together, you'll be having 5Q. Then with this, you can see the fruits are all the same. You can see you have 4 bananas plus another banana, and you give someone 2 bananas. So you can see 9 plus 4 plus 5t will give us 90 minus 2t will definitely be 7t. So I will encourage my learners to have a go at this, go through them, and practice them. Then you'll be good at solving questions on algebra. These are all examples, as I said. We'll quickly, because of time and space, we'll move on to the next slide. Now, this is a class exercise. So we'll look at these 4 exercises. We'll look at those 4 exercises on my left. Then I will encourage my viewers or learners to have a go at the other 4 exercises on the right. So let's start. This first one is y plus y. It's the same thing as y plus y will be 2y. Then cycle the expression that's equal to this. So in this case, y plus y minus y, this will be 3y minus y. And that will be 3y minus y, the same thing as 2y. So this will definitely be the answer. As stated in the previous videos, I will always encourage my viewers or my learners to always show how they arrive at the answer. It's not enough doing a guesswork, because I've seen situations where individuals do guesswork, whereas this is something they know. At the end of the day, they miss it. So it's always advisable to show your working before choosing your answers. At least in the course of showing your working, your nerves will be calm, and at the end of the day, you choose the correct answer and you move on. Then we look at the next one. This is 4C plus 2C. That would definitely be 6C. Then we'll look at the next one. We have 8x minus 2x plus 4x. 8x minus 2x plus 4x. So 8x minus 2x will be 6x. 6x plus 4x will be 10x. So that reminds me, as a disclaimer, most of my resources is being sourced from CPG, maths textbooks, and online resources from Cobebmans. Shout out to them. Shout out to them for using their resources online. So as mentioned earlier, there are so many of them out there. So, but the few ones I'm conversant with, the few ones I normally use is Kobe Maths or and CPG maths textbooks. So I've had a go with this first four on my left. So my learners, please, I will encourage you to have a go on these other ones on the right. So once you've tried all these, so you can quickly move on to the next slide to check your work. As stated earlier also, I will not be there to watch you, but I will encourage you, create time for personal studies. Create time for personal studies that will enhance and deepen your knowledge on algebraic questions. So these are the answers which are correct. The first four on my left, and I've left this for my learners to have a go on the right. Then we'll move on to the next slide. Yeah, this also a shout out to Matt Genie. Matt Genie, this questions we are gotten from Matt Genie online. So for the, because of time and space, I'll be looking at, let's say from questions one to from questions 1 to 5. And there will be so many questions on my comments section. Any comments on my comment section or questions on my comment section, I will encourage my viewers and my learners to go there, drop any comments, anything you don't understand. I will be able to do justice to your concerns and questions. So let's begin with the first one. This is 3x plus 4x minus 2x. As usual, as said, once you are solving algebraic questions, you need to take cognizance of the sign in front of the terms. So in this case, this is 3x plus 4x. This is 7x minus 2x. That is 5x. Reason or question why we're able to do this. These terms, they are common. Just with the same analogy I've talked about apple, liken this to apples. You bought three apples, mom gave you four apples, that's seven apples in total, and you gave out two apples to a friend. So that will be take away two apples, that will be definitely five apples remaining with you. So this is 5x. Same thing as this 3m plus 3m, that would be 6m. Then we look at this n plus n plus n, that will definitely be 3n. Then we look at this simplify a times b times c, that will definitely be a b c. Looking at this, the same thing as 5p minus 2p, that will be 3p. Fine, let's look at this question. So yes, by being privileged to look at or mark assessments, this is a common confusing questions I've always come across. Please, I would want my learners or my viewers to take note of this. In this case, to solve this, so let me get my cleaner. To solve question one there is, so this is 3h divided by 3. So 3 cancel here, 3 1, 3 here, 3 divided by 3 1, 3 divided by 6 is 2. So at the end of the day, this is the answer, 2h. A common mistake I found out is most times some questions will come in this form, 6h divided by 3h. Please, I encourage my learners, take notes of this. H will cancel out H. Why 3 here 1, 3 in 6 will be 2. So this becomes 2. You can see the questions are different. Look at this is 6h divided by 3. Once you do, once you solve this, you get 2h. Unlike this 6h divided by 3h, you solve this, you get 2. As mentioned earlier, please learn to pay attention to details so that you don't lose marks in any assessment or formal exams unnecessarily. The ability to learn to pay attention to details helps. Please spot the difference. You can see the difference. This is 3h divided by 3. That will give us 2h. While 6h divided by 3h will give us 2. There are two different scenarios and two different answers. Then we look at this last one, k plus this. So this will be 2k plus 8. You either stop here or you go a little bit further. Both are correct. A little bit further in the sense that if you like, you can do it this way. You bring out the common factor here, that will be 2k plus 4. It doesn't matter, the answers are both correct, but it's advisable you can stop here and you still get your full marks. So, as mentioned earlier, I believe with these first five solutions I've attempted on my left, it's quite similar to every other questions from question 6 to 13. So I will encourage my learners to have a go. Because of time and space, I won't be able to complete all the questions. But rather, once you have any issues, if there are other concerns, you can drop your comment on my comment section, then I'll pick it up from there. So we'll move on to the next slide. These are all the answer slides. So my learners, once you've done that, you can now come here to compare your answers. Please be honest to yourself. So we'll move on to the next slide. Now we'll be looking at multiplying and dividing algebra. So I will encourage for the sake of time and space, I will encourage my learners to go through all these. As I said, this is something we've done in the previous slides. They are all virtually the same. But for a refresher, you can quickly look at this. We've looked at this in the previous slide and something similar to this too. So I will encourage you, take your time, read this, digest it, and think about it. We'll move on to the next slide. So this is expanding the brackets. So because of time and space, let's move on. Let's jump on to the class activities. Yes, this is the class activity. As usual, because of time, you can see all these are similar. So I will look at these questions one. Okay, let me see. I will look at this. So these are all virtually similar. So we'll look at 1A. We'll look at this. And we'll look at this. So I will encourage my learners to have a go at all other questions. They are all similar. There's nothing different. So just have a go at them. You have any concerns or any issues, please drop them in my comment sections. Then I'll pick it up from there. As mentioned earlier, it's all about managing time and space. So let's crack on. This is 8 times y times 2. So you multiply all this together. 8 times 2 is 16 times y. You bring down your y. Then you look at this. This is 18x divided by 3. 18x is divided by 3. So let's quickly clean this line of space. So this can be also likened as this. 18x divided by 3. It's not a must, you must write it this way, but it's just to help me as an individual to have a clear picture of what I'm doing. So 3 here 1, 3 in 18 will be 6. So 6x, your answer becomes 6x. Remember, this is a different scenario from this. You have 18x divided by 3x. I remember this question is the same thing as this. Most times they changed all these just to confuse you. So please, let's pay attention to details, please. So let me clean this one. At the end of the day, X cancel divided by X is gone. 3 here 1, 3 in 18 is 6. So this becomes 6. Remember, this 18x divided by 3x is a different scenario from 18x divided by 3. Please learn to differentiate this because I've been opportune to look at to mark assessments as a teacher. This is a common mistakes I've noticed that learners this is a common mistakes from learners. Please learn to pay attention to details and be conscious of some questions like this. So I will encourage you to have a go. If you have any concern, please kindly reach out through my comment section. Then we look at the expanding the bracket. So let me clean this for space. Expanding the bracket. So we have to expand this. So you multiply this by this. Then you take this same one, multiply by the whole of this. So 4 times y, 4 times y will be 4y. And 4 times plus 2, that will be plus 8. So I will encourage my learners, use this as a guide to help you appreciate questions, to help you solve all other questions. As mentioned earlier, because of space and time, I'll stop at these 3 questions. I hope and I believe that these 3 questions and other comments I've made in the course of solving this particular one will help guide us to solve all other ones. So once you've done that, you can move on to the answer slide to help check your answers. So let's move on to the next slide. This just, and I will encourage my learners also to look at this, go through this, read this, study this, meditate on this. Then we'll move on to the next slide. The same thing with this, as mentioned earlier, please, because of space and time, I will encourage you read this, digest this, and think about this. Then we'll move on, we'll crack on to the questions. So for the sake of space and time, I will look at this first one. This first one, they are almost the same. This first one, um, this question, then these other questions, because I believe this one, then question 7, these are the most, complex one. This will help guide you to solve all other ones, then with these two. So looking at this, we are expanding this. Remember, you take this, you multiply by this, you take the same value, multiply by the whole of this, then you take the whole of this, multiply by this, then take the whole of this, multiply by the whole of this number. So let's have a go. Y times y, that's y squared. Y times plus 5, that will be plus 5y. So plus 3 times y, that will be plus 3y. And plus 3 times plus 5, that will be plus 15. At the end of the day, you simplify. So this will be y squared. So plus 5y plus 3y will be plus 8y. Then you bring out the last number plus 15. So this is correct. Then you look at the same thing. So let me clean the line underneath it for space. So y, you take this x multiplied by this x. You take the same x multiplied by the whole of this minus 1. Then you take the whole of this multiplied by this. Then you take the whole of this multiplied by this. So let's say x times x will be x squared. X times minus 1 will be minus x. Plus 5 times x will give us plus 5x. Plus 5 times minus 1, that will be minus 5. So we simplify this. This is minus 1 plus 5x. So this is s squared minus 1 plus 5x. Minus 1 plus 5x. So this will be plus 4x. Yeah, I don't want you to bother yourself. I will do another session on negative numbers, but because of time, I want us to know that minus 1 plus 5x is plus 4x. There will be a session on negative numbers where we'll dissect how to solve questions on negative numbers, because that's another topics I found most learners find challenging with. So then you bring out minus 5. So this is your correct answer. As mentioned earlier, we quickly look at this. This will help us. So to bracket this means everything in the bracket, yeah, you double it. So in this case, this will be minus 7, bracket close, then another minus 7, bracket close. So as usual, you take this, you multiply by this, then you take the same x multiplied by negative 7, you take negative 7 multiplied by x, and you take negative 7 multiplied by negative 7. So x times x will give us x squared. X times minus 7 will be minus 7x. Then minus 7 times x will be minus 7x. Minus 7 times minus 7, that will be plus 49. The final answer becomes x squared minus 7x minus 7x will be minus 14x plus 49. Because the question said expand and simplify, we expected to stop here. So this is the correct answer. As mentioned earlier, please have a go at this and do your due diligence, practice more. Once you've practiced, go to the next slide, which has all the answers. Then you cross check, and please be honest to yourself. Dishonesty, if you are being dishonest, you are only undoing yourself, which That is not the idea, the whole essence of this session. Please be honest to yourself, mark honestly. If there's any mistakes made, correct yourself, pick it from there, and continue practicing. So let's move on. So this is the answer session. Please do well to cross-check your answers. And if there's any concerns, you can always reach me through the you can always reach me through the comment section. So this is another aspect of algebra. We'll call this factorizing. Consciously, unconsciously, we might have done this. Okay, let's look at factorizing. For the sake of time and space, let's quickly look at it and see how it goes. So this is the questions. So because of space and time, we'll be looking at let's say the first three questions here. For the first three questions, you can use this as a guide to complete questions 4 to questions 9. They are virtually all the same. So to factorize these questions, factorizing is only telling us that we should look at these two alphabets. There's something common between them. You bring out the common factor between them, then whatever remains, you put them in the bracket. So in this case, this is 3y and this is 15. The common factor between this is 3. So you bring out 3, then you open your bracket. So 3y divided by 3, you have y remaining plus 15 divided by 3 will be 5. Remember, if you are doing the flip side, if you are expanding this, you should be able to get this. So 3 times y will give us 3y. 3 plus 5 will give us 15. You see this, if you expand this, you still arrive at this. That's why I love maths. Maths, it's true to itself. Once you are doing the right thing, you can always cross-check. Any you don't need any crystal ball gazer to tell you if you're on the right path. So at the end of every question, you can always cross-check yourself. So 3 times y will give us 3y. And 3, if you expanded 3 times plus 5 will give you 15. Same as this. So we look at the common factor between this. We look at the common factor. So this common factor is 2. So once you divide 2 by this, you'll be having 2w left minus divide 2 by this, you have 3 left. As usual, if you are expanding, 2 times this will give us this. 2 times minus 3 will give us minus 6. Same as this, you look at something that's common. Common factor here is 5. You open your brackets. So 5m divided by 5, we'll have m left plus 3. Such that if you expand this again, you get the initial question. So 5 times n will give us 5n. 5 times plus 3 will give us 15. So, as usual, thank you very much. Because of space and time, we'll be stopping here. Once these 3 questions is like a guide to help you complete the other questions. Once you've done them, you've done all other questions, you can move on to the next slide to cross-check your answer. Remember, you keep practicing and be honest to yourself. If there's any mistake, you pick it from there, correct yourself, and learn from your mistake. Yes, it is possible, or it is normal to make mistake doing your correction or you're doing your personal studies. It is normal if you are in class, if you are in, doing your private study, it is normal. But what we don't want you to do is to make mistakes in the exams. Please make all the necessary mistakes, make all the necessary corrections while you are studying, while all things being equal, those mistakes can be reduced minimally in the real exams. Thereby, that will enhance you getting that desired grade. That will enhance you getting a positive outcome. And at the end of the day, once there's a positive outcome, you will be the first beneficiary and you'll be true and be happy with yourself before you can extend it to the next person. Thank you very much. This is your regular host, Valentine. Thank you and thank you very much. See you on the next session. Thank you.